saw her, I knew she was the one for me. Ever since then, we've been vibing on some chemistry. It's just a matter of time. I know she feeling my vibe. I got the keys to her ride. She put her hands on my thigh. She got that look in her eye. SL what I'm riding. Royalty, call me highness. All day and overnighted. Cause it's crunch time when I'm grinding. This Adderall got me nauseous. Proceed with caution. Tired of lanes, I'm exhausted. Poppin' Zanny Zan, sipping out the faucet. I'm confused, don't know what I'm doing. Wait, what I'm doing? Got me going where the I'm going. Out of space where I'm going. Wait, where I'm going? Wait, where I'm going? Out of space where I'm going. Out of space where I'm going. I'll be up in the way. 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 Running on my face. Gucci guilty on my face. I'll be up in the way. 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 Can I talk to you? I've been working hard. I've been up all night. I just been so high. I feel nothing off the sands. Withdrawals killing me. I need something to sleep. Need you on top of me. I need to get high. Dreams designer all night. Chanel should be hot in my dreams. Wearing my clear on my sleeve. I'm not who you need me to be. Indigo sound for the team. Royalty sound for the team. Hippie vibing for the team. I need space, girl. I need to get out, yeah. Slow my motion.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of Now We're Talking with Mervin A. Bourne Jr.
And Lolita E. Walker. We are back.
Yes, we are back. I'm so happy to be back. We've been off for a little bit, but we're back in full effect tonight with another great show for you.
Both of us here. So we're live and ready to talk to you tonight. Tonight's show is going to be amazing. We have a lot to talk to you about first, but we first want to set the stage with you so you can get your everything ticking on the inside. We are talking about what does it mean when you say I am living in the right now. So put your thinking caps on and let's rewind, right? So where were you last week?
Me?
Yeah.
I was in London with family.
Okay.
Yeah, so a little getaway, relaxation. Also, my aunt and uncle were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary.
Pretty cool.
So that was a pretty cool event, exactly. It's not every day that you get to celebrate that with people
years,
that you
right?
love. Exactly. So, I mean, if you live 50 years, you're fortunate, in this world. So to be married to somebody for that long is just kind of like, wow. So being around that family and that love and in that environment, and also getting to see people that I don't usually get to see because they're so far away was also amazing. So yeah, it was just a really
so just
great
reconnecting
event.
with family.
Yeah, reconnecting.
And connecting, because your kids didn't know everybody,
so,
right? Where's the little thingy to put your...
that's just a really cool segue into my weekly win.
Yes.
Because I was able to facilitate my kids meeting my sister that lives in the UK for the first time ever, and her children who are their cousins. So that was pretty wild, seeing, because she has a girl and a boy, I have a girl and a boy. And so just watching that whole thing unfold was super powerful.
Are they around the same age?
So her son is the same age as my daughter. And then her daughter is 3 years older than my son. So, so it was a really, really great event. It's something that I've wanted that to happen for a lot of years. So for it to finally come to fruition was amazing. And then of course, getting to see my sister, who I haven't seen in a super long time because we live so far away from each other, was just really, really inspiring and just amazing. So yeah, that was definitely a huge win for me for this week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am sharing our watch party.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm about to do the same thing. And you also you've had quite a few huge wins this week.
I have.
You don't even know where to start. You've been winning so
right?
much.
I've been winning, hashtag winning. So we'd love to hear your wins too before I even start with, wow, let's turn you down a little bit. We'd love to hear your wins. So what were your wins for this week? What were your wins for last week or even this week here? So my wins, well, I'll share one. One of them was I just had my Women's Weekend Renewal Retreat this past weekend. It's my 4th. It was in Purcellville, Virginia. The women there, I mean, it was just breakthroughs after breakthroughs. It was just a time, all-inclusive weekend with the goal to have busy women together to really pour into you. I had a number of awesome facilitators. I did some live coaching, one-on-one group coaching. We had Dr. Sophia there again. She has been just a steady resource for me, which is so amazing.
Yeah.
We've just had so many great breakthroughs. I mean, this was in a different house that was still in the same area, Purcellville, and it was absolutely beautiful. I tried to put up a couple of videos so people could really take it all in. But I think one of the key takeaways that I was reminded of is to simply breathe. Just breathe. And we learned a couple techniques. Maybe I'll show you one. Maybe I'll show everybody one.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a game changer. It really made me feel so calm and goes into what we're talking about really living in your right now. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that, in terms of topics that you all addressed or covered? Yeah,
so my theme, I have a different theme every retreat. So I have a retreat coming up February 20th through the 23rd. We're doing it again. It's in Purcellville, Virginia. It's on my website, Lolita, Lolita, walker.com. And again, the intention is that women recognize that, guess what? I need time as well. Like, are you a busy woman who just gives so much to everyone else and rarely takes time for yourself? Then
Yeah.
Thank you, Aldo.
No problem.
See, that's why you gotta have people that have your back all the time, keep you covered. Thank you. So we had Terry Lee, who is a stylist and owns Beyond Better Beauty, and she was able to kind of talk to us about nourishing ourselves and what we put on our skin and how we define beauty. And then I followed that back up with some coaching on what does that mean for your inner you, just unmasking yourself. So I did a workshop on that night.
Unmasking yourself figuratively or literally?
Yeah, so she did, I would say, like literally with a mask, like literally what we put on our body and unmasking. And then I did it, what does that term mean for you intrinsically? Yeah. What does it mean for you? So we had some we had some really good discussions. I mean, change is emotional and so disruptive. So we talked about that a lot. We talked about how we want to be unmasked as we walk into 2020. What does that look like and feel like? And it just was amazing. Wow. We had some other topics. Obviously, there was a chef there the entire weekend. So we talked about what you put into your body. We talked about a number of things. We had mindfulness. It's a type of yoga. We did yoga and then deep breathing another day. And that's what I'll show you later on. We'll talk about kind of calming, and after, when you're living in a moment, how are some ways that you can do it. And one is absolutely breathing, taking time to breathe and become present. We did that. There was a pool there, so we had plenty of downtime, and we just did a lot of one-on-one, a lot of breakthroughs, a lot of clarity, driving clarity. Really good. So we had the 2 mindfulness. We had me. I did a lot of coaching. We had Tatanisha Meadows, because one of the things that I've recognized with my retreats is that what always comes up on making your dreams reality or manifesting your vision is always, I don't know if I have enough money for that. And so I wanted to remove that limiting belief because it comes up every time. And so let's figure out with the money that you do have, what can you be doing smarter? So we talked about that. And it was very engaging.
To believe that money controls everything.
Right.
And that the money controls your purpose, controls your goals, your aspirations. And I'm glad that you coined it that way in terms of the limiting belief.
Yeah.
Because it absolutely is a self-imposed limiting belief.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have so many of them, but that's a big one. So.
No, I love it. So we talked about that. It was amazing. I'm so glad. Every retreat that I have, that was my 4th, they build upon each other. And it just means that every single time, the women are just going to pull more and more out of me because I'm learning, I'm growing. Right. The women there are growing. And then I have graduates that continue to come back to these retreats. And so just keeping it fresh and something new to challenge them differently is so important.
You know what we should have? We should have a retreat show where you have some graduates come back.
Somebody told me that too. We should. Yeah. I know. Then you can hear if it's as good as I'm letting you know.
That's right.
We'll do it before the end of the year because I have another retreat in February. And some are not here physically, so they'll have to dial in, but I'm sure they would love that.
No, I think it would be great because it's always good to get the perspective of the client and the person who's benefiting the most from the retreat. Even though I know as the retreat host, you benefit as well. But the people that are coming, I mean, from what I'm hearing and what I've been understanding through following you is that a lot of the women are literally experiencing life-changing breakthroughs during these weekend retreats. And that, I mean, I think their testimonies could be the difference between someone being too afraid to give it a shot and someone saying, you know what, I'm gonna step out there and take a leap and do my first retreat.
So one of the women, so interesting that you say that about following. So one of the women that came to the retreat, I never met her, which is not uncommon, but she found an ad that I had going on Facebook. And she said, you know, let me look into this and see. And she said, first I said, women's retreat, I'm going by myself. I wanted some people to go with me. She said, but when I looked at your website, when I really started doing some research, and then she went all the way into all of the videos. So she ended up on my YouTube page, and she said, I just felt like this was it. And when she was doing one of her interviews and we were kind of talking, she said, you know, I still didn't know, but after I looked at all that, I knew. And she said, even her driving up the mountains, just, you never even really think about things like that, but even the mountains driving up, she said, I just let it go. And she said, when I hugged you at the retreat, I just knew that this was it. Right place, right time. So you set those stages, you allow people to see you for who you are, you open yourself up and then become as vulnerable as you want them to become vulnerable. And that's why I'm so excited about your upcoming men's retreat.
I cannot wait. It's going to be so awesome, and I'm excited about it too, for real. Like, even just hearing you talk about how impactful yours is to the women that participate is just really exciting. Just anticipating that impact.
And I think one of the things that you know, people come in sometimes closed off. They think that they're open, but nobody really wants to share all of them. But when you create an atmosphere where you are unguarded, then it's natural for people to become unguarded. And that's why I think that's some of the power in the ahas that come out. So hashtag amazing.
So before we go to break, tonight we're going to be talking about living in the present, living in the moment. What exactly does that mean? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to us? What are the impediments to living in the moment?
Yeah.
What are those things that are stopping you, or at least making it so difficult for all of us every day to just be more present, to be less worried, to be less afraid, to be less worried about what your neighbor's doing, to be less worried about the future, to be, thinking less about past events and those things that are weighing us down like anchors.
Yep.
There's so many different impediments. We want to know what some of your impediments are. Just go ahead and throw them out. Throw them out to the live chat. What are the impediments that are making it harder for all of us every day to live in the moment, to be more present? Is it money? Is it finances? I mean, it could be anything. And also, how do you actually make it possible to be in the moment, to live in the moment? How do you get beyond the impediments? So we're going to be talking about all of that and more when we come back with Now We're Talking.
This is a Poverty ENT exclusive. Next stop, Texaco, strapped up, you already know. Fuck niggas hate, that's how it goes. Bros with me, yeah, it's time to go. That's how it goes. Bros with me, yeah, it's time to go. I'm a real nigga that I deal with. You see my past issues, make me blast pistols. I'm trying to chill, short, I'll be back shortly. Gotta hit the trap till I count to 40. Got a show to do and I ain't used to it, but I'm a stunt hard to put some juice to it. Get my shine on, cause my grind long. Got bros with me, fuck up your city. Got my mind strong, take a time bomb. Fuck a pot, I'd rather pat the kitty. I don't want the city, don't call me Diddy. Yeah, I rap my city, way to show them something they ain't ready for. Make a voice firm so you can't ignore it. Talking shit like I'm fixing toilets. Shag a rhythm, I can see me torn. Horn cuffs, shades on.
Listen to this flashback of Skyline Radio Show.
So where we at? Where we talk about the effects and what's going on in these schools, and what people don't understand. Just real briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about what people say bullying is or is not. So bullying comes in many forms. It's a teasing, it's the cyberbullying, it's the texting, it's the phone calls, it's the posting of pictures and people's personal information to pretty much cause them harm, to have them feel insecure. It's the sex assaults that people actually put out there. There are physical assaults, and there are mental assaults and emotional assaults. And what I like to remind individuals that any aggressive behavior towards anyone that is unwanted and unwarranted in an individual asks you to stop. Let's stop there. Stop.
And they should be respecting that.
Respecting that and respecting yourself, because when you're able to respect another person, you're able to respect yourself. And the way that you're able to show that respect is that you know that you have a gift and you know you're uniquely made and that you matter, and then you also acknowledge that the next person beside you matters as well.
Right.
You know, and we lose that sometimes. Bullying is a behavior that underestimates the lives and legacy of you. I'm sure when they was bullying me, and I'm sure when they was bullying you, they didn't understand who you're going to become later on. I didn't know.
Right, because I'm popping. I can't pop. All right, let me tell you, all those people who felt like they wanted to say whatever to me, look at me now.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to Now We're Talking with Mervin and Lolita E. Walker.
Hey.
We are back for another Thursday from, again, 7
p.m. to 9 p.m. and we are here on this Facebook page. If you're here, you might be on YouTube, but whatever it is, we are happy that you are here with us. We have been, celebrating our wins. So the first part of our show, we always start off with, what are your wins from the last week? So Mervin was telling us about this awesome trip you had with your family.
Yeah. Took my family to London, so we got to visit a lot of family. I mean, I have so much family over there. So in addition to all the sightseeing and hanging out and having fun, we really got to bond and just share like quality time with a lot of my aunts, uncles, and cousins, and celebrate my aunt and uncle's 50th wedding anniversary, which was super special to celebrate. And it was just really, really awesome introducing my family to other family of mine that they had never met before. So it was a great week, and to be able to make it there and make it back safely is always a big plus.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in London, have you guys been to London? I enjoyed it. It was kind of rainy when I was there, and yeah, it was rainy. It was fun, but I've been to some other amazing places. We got lucky with the
rain, but they typically have, and they're known for having rainy / cloudy type weather. But it was an amazing week. Very little rain at all, and a lot of sunny days. So
God knew you were going. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we talked about my win was my women's retreat. My 4th women's retreat just happened over the weekend. Amazing in Purcellville, Virginia. I'm having another one February 20th through the 23rd. So get your tickets now, lolitawalker.com. And we'd love to hear what your wins are. What are your wins for last week? Just type them in. We'll call them out. It's always fun to see what people are calling their wins for the week. Okay. So today's show, I was just looking where we are. I think there's like a halo over my shirt. I might put on my black jacket when we come back. But we're talking about, what does it mean to truly live in your right now? What does that really mean? It's so hard, right? We have so many distractions that come at us every day. We have our phones. We have just social media. We have just life. Right? We have work.
Children,
spouses, friends, co-workers. You just have everything, clients, everything coming to you at once. So what does it mean? And is it real? Can you really live in the moment? So for me, living in my right now is literally being present at what I am doing at this moment.
So if your body's there, you're present, right? So
being mentally present. So I'll give you an example. I have to check myself sometimes. So every morning my son comes into my room when he wakes up, because I typically get up before him, and I'm in the bed. I'm either watching TV or I'm checking a couple of emails or setting intention for my day, like just writing out something to make sure that I'm going to be good for the day. And he'll come in and I'll still be continuing that task, or I'll say, oh, you can go ahead and watch something, 30 minutes, you got 30 minutes, so I'm doing something else. But really what he's looking for is us to just hang out for 30 minutes. Like, let's just hang out. And so sometimes I just have to check myself, and I use that as an example because living in the right now, to me, means being present mentally where you are. So somebody can have your undivided attention, so you can have your undivided attention. And it's more like being mindful and aware and present to what is going on right then, so that you could fully embrace all of it. To shift your mind into, let me really be all into this conversation. Let me really be all into what it is I'm doing. And I don't think it means that you don't schedule things, like time is of no essence. I think it's more like in those moments, that you're just all in. So that's what it means to me.
And when you say all in, you know, immediately I'm thinking, so like, what does that mean? Like, what's the difference between, you know, like earlier we were talking about being in a concert, and there's, you know, the last time I was like watching a concert on television, and everyone in the concert was filming themselves with their cell phones while the performers were on stage. And it was just really eye-opening to me to see that, like, this is how a lot of people watch concerts. And I'm thinking, like, so if you're looking at yourself in your phone, you're not looking at the performer on the stage, and maybe you can hear them, but you're while that might still be totally satisfying to you, you're still experiencing that concert in a different way than if you were fully engaged with the performer. And it's not to say that one is better than the other, or one is bad and one is good, but I think it's just important to acknowledge that it's a different experience. And what if we practice going through life being more aware of the quality of our experiences? You know, whether it's with a stranger, with our loved ones inside of our house, with our friends that we interact with. And so I think that's really what we're talking about tonight is the quality of our experiences, and how living in the present, living in the moment drastically enhances the quality of those experiences.
Absolutely. And I think it can be defined differently by different people. Like, what's important to you? Maybe important to that person was that they were sharing that moment with all their followers, I'll just say. Maybe that is how they defined being in the moment. So I love that. I think we hit on, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What is it? What does living in your right now mean to you?
And why is it so hard? You know, if you are doing it, if you
why
have
is it
trouble
so hard?
doing it.
We'll talk about it as soon as we're back from this break.
Let's talk about it when we come back.
Let me write my list.
Take a minute and listen to this flashback of the Artist Exchange radio show.
Any trouble, because I get into any trouble, but I had a problem that this then became a discussion at that workplace environment. Now, the discussion was I should have been more sensitive. In what way was my first response? And I guess when I had to meet with that said person who had the issue with the person who was said leader of that organization. I said, well, to that person, how would I have known that? Well, you should have asked.
I think so. You want my opinion?
It was a circle, and I was willing to go on that merry-go-round.
You are better than most.
Yeah.
I think that's normal when you're in a group and there's norming. Most of the time when you're in new work environments or you're in a space where you're getting to know people, it's normal now to ask for people's preferred pronouns. You wouldn't have known that.
Normal to who? What is normal?
Well, you work in social... You work in social innovation and
my pronouns, so it's not normal to me.
You don't, but I think because I feel like the person was probably offended because they felt like you were not honoring whoever they are, right? But you wouldn't have known that.
Still to this moment, I don't know what their pronouns are. So in that
they didn't offer
circle, we still don't know.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to Now We're Talking with Mervin A. Bourne Jr. and Lolita E. Walker.
Hey!
We are here with you every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can see us on Facebook. You might be watching us right now live on Facebook or on YouTube on the BeExposedRadio.com YouTube page.
So we are talking, what does it mean when you say, I am living in my right now? Just a quick shout out to the folks that have joined. Hi, Sue, Melody, Lauren, Michelle, Kelly, Miss Woolfolk. How are you?
Hey, Woolfolk.
And you had a couple of people there?
Yeah, Troy, Camilla, Keon, Esther, Nikki. What's up? What's up? Thanks a lot for joining us another week. We're so glad that you're with us. you might as well be sitting here in the room. So,
or you might as well
appreciate
give
you.
us what your thoughts are on what does it mean when you're sitting in your right now. So how I defined it was, for me, sitting in your right now is being present in your moment. It is me focused on this conversation right now, me allowing the space to really ponder inside in order to be present with you, me listening, me understanding, me being wholly there and present. And one of the things that Mervin challenged us with is, what about the different versions of that, where it's like I'm present with all of my followers and I'm doing a selfie at the concert, and that might feel like being present to me. What does it mean for you?
For me, it means being undistracted from outside influences, from anything other than what's in the room, what's right in front of me. So it could be, like you mentioned before, with your child who really wants your attention and your company. But from our perspectives, a lot of times, especially as working people, as professionals, as busy parents, we feel like, well, I'm in the room. So if I'm texting or I'm knocking out emails, I'm here, I'm present, so everybody's covered, everybody's good. But in doing a self-check, like you just mentioned, sometimes you have to check yourself. It's not the same thing. And right before the break, we were talking about the quality of our experiences. It is a very different quality of an experience to be, even if you're watching a movie with someone or watching your kid's favorite TV show, it's a very different experience if you're checking your emails and responding to text messages, as opposed to if you and your kid are engaged in the show, laughing at the same jokes, talking about what people on the screen are saying. It's a very different experience. It's a deeper experience. And so while we can get through life and get by life and get through our relationships with people, having, not as deep a level of interaction, I think we owe it to ourselves and to the other people in our lives to question, is that the best we can do?
Yeah. Some of the things that I learned, this retreat from this past weekend was so good. All of them are good.
Yeah.
But this one, I really felt a connection of a deeper introspective as related to me. So some of the breathing exercises, and I really think it was with the breathing exercises that took me to a deeper level of myself, as well as with the coaching. But one of the things that Seema, who was one of the breathing instructors from Holistic Healing, it's called, she was there and she showed us this exercise that I'll show you right now. So she didn't do it quite like this, but this is the way I remember it. So if you do I love you, which is in sign language, I love you, and you actually, Rachel, the second from Rachel Eccles Yoga, after I showed her this wonderful breathing technique, she said, oh, well, you can do it this way, which is a little easier. Same breathing technique as Seema showed us. But anyway, I love you. You can do this at home. Your pointer finger will go on your third eye, which is in the middle of your two eyes. Okay, so do that. Your thumb will go on your right nostril. So hopefully your nose is clean.
You said on it, not in it.
On it. But you'll quickly know because there's a whole lot of pushing. So you hold that in and you breathe in deeply. When you're at the top, you hold and you quickly shift nostrils. Shift, yep. And breathe out wholly. So let's do it again. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, breathe in. Hold, breathe out. Deeply. Do you feel calm?
Yeah.
It was a game changer for me. I couldn't even believe how calm I felt. And we did it like, let's just say 3 times. So each time you're going more deeply, game changer. I thought it was so great. I just kept talking about it. And so I come home, I do it in the morning when I wake up now, I do it at night before I go to bed, and my son has more energy than me. He wakes up on 99, he goes to sleep on 99, so he even listens to spa radio on Pandora as he goes to sleep because he's just that wound up. But I introduced him to this as well.
Okay, and how'd that go?
Game changer.
Wow.
I know. So from me to you, from the women's retreat, but from Seema and Rachel, I appreciate both of you guys. Yeah.
Very cool.
Just the notion of breathing and how our breaths are so shallow, right? We just, because we're moving, it's like, yep, so this, and we're just going.
But again, you wouldn't know unless you actually took a moment to slow down and be conscious of it, be mindful of something as simple as the way you breathe, how you breathe. Do you breathe with intention? And breathing is one of those things that our bodies just do automatically, right? So we don't really give much thought to it. But when you just had me do that, it was just a reminder that even if I didn't have the technique, the times where I've, for example, to meditate, where I've just focused on breathing deeply, it makes such a big difference.
Being aware of your body, just being aware of the breath that's going in and like penetrating everything, like you're filling your lungs up, which we rarely ever wholly do. So intentionally deciding to do that. I think the way Seema originally showed us was with 2 fingers on your third eye and then like this and like this, but it just was easy for me to tell my son, I love you in doing it. Game changer. And just when you breathe, right?
Yeah, I'm using it.
You are fully aware of the breath. So as you're sitting there and you're meditating and you are forcing yourself to be still, just being aware of like your fingers, the movements, your legs, just some of the exercises that Rachel Eccles did with us at the retreat. It's like, wow, we rarely give any credence to our toes, like really pulling them, you know, and making sure that they know like, hey, we're still here, or different muscles in your body. But I'm telling you that breathing is a game changer.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I enjoyed it.
Yep. So what are the impediments?
Yeah.
What are the things that are blocking being present, living in the moment, right? So we're alive every day. We're walking around. We're living our lives. A lot of us are busy. But some people might say, well, I don't have time to be thinking about living in the moment. Like, I'm just living life. I'm just doing life. And life is crazy. Life is hectic. I have a lot of responsibility. I have kids. I have bills. I have a demanding job. And so, you know, that living in the moment, that's something for rich people that don't have a lot to do. But not true, right?
Not true. Not true. I don't want to talk over you. What would you say?
I would say the biggest one for me would be fear.
Yeah.
You know, we're just so preoccupied, and I can speak for myself with feeling as a father like I'm responsible for other people, or feeling like the head of the household like I'm physically and in so many different ways responsible for the well-being and the livelihood of other human beings. It's a lot of pressure, and with that pressure can seep in fear of what if, you know.
Yeah. So I would ask you, when you are sick and are no good to anybody in your household, then what? Right? You're no longer good to you. You're no longer good to anybody in the household. And so you deserve to take care of you.
Absolutely.
You deserve that time. And, you know, people always say self-love is not selfish, and it's absolutely not.
Of course.
So when you decide that I'm worthy of taking care of myself and nourishing into me the same way I do to others, and you recognize that that is not selfish, then you make time for yourself.
Right.
You intentionally carve out time for yourself. So how do you do that, right, in the course of a busy day? Some ways you can do that, I would say, is maybe get up 30 minutes early and say, this is the dedication to me. So Dr. Sophia put me onto this awesome app. It's called Insight Timer.
Okay.
I think I mentioned it here before, Insight Timer, and that can be meditation for beginners. You can decide, hey, I want to give a deep sleep. I want to start my day with intention. I think that's a way where you can carve out time for yourself by yourself. Another way is when you get up in the morning, I'm big on affirmations. I'm big on I am. If you've come to my retreat or you've been to any session that I've ever done, we're always doing an affirmation, and that is the power of your voice, leveraging that to say, I am this, I am that. What are your strengths, right? What is something that you want to become a strength, and declaring that.
Yeah.
Setting intention for your day.
Right. And just to piggyback on something you just said about getting up 30 minutes earlier, because I've had so many conversations with people about just self-care, whether you're talking about exercise or meditation or just taking a walk, just some time for yourself, for your sanity. And most people I have this conversation with, they say something to the effect of, I don't have time for that. And so when you threw out there 30 minutes, to me, like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Like, if you get up at 6 and getting up at 5:30 is not astronomical.
15. Don't
If
go
you
all
have
30.
right, if you get up at 7, getting up at 6:30, it's not going to be earth-shattering, right? But some people might say, well, 30 minutes, that is earth-shattering. So then, like you said, 10.
Yeah, get up at do 10.
Like if you were to do the deep breathing exercise we just did for 10 minutes, like to just be sitting there breathing,
honestly, for 5 minutes,
consciously breathing, would change your entire life.
I'm telling
right?
you.
So you know what? If you don't have 30 minutes, if 30 minutes is earth-shattering, then how about 10?
Small buckets.
You know what I mean?
Small buckets.
Exactly.
Or journaling is so powerful. And I had a girlfriend the other night, I was talking to her about just getting herself into a great space and journaling. And she said, you know, I had a really crazy experience with journaling, and so that's not it. And so journaling, I'm not asking you to write a diary. What I'm asking you to do is to intentionally write in the present. So I am grateful for this in this moment. I feel this in this moment. I'm asking you to do those type of things. And I think that's important. So for anybody that was at the retreat, here's our book that our journal that we gave away for this one. This actually is the Inspire Journal. And inside of it, I can tell you,
Hold that up.
Well,
it's pretty.
I'm making a journal, so it is pretty. It is pretty. But it's called the Inspire Journal. And the cool one about why I got this one this time was because it, for every page that you write, it also has a quote right here. It's pretty cool. So this one, you know, we wrote, here's an example. In this moment, I feel what? So mine, I wrote mine. But when you get into the writing in your present tense, not in the past, not what you want to do, but this is what I feel now. I am grateful for, right? Just get something that is yours. So maybe your 10 minutes is really just spent sitting in the bed, so you didn't even have to get out, and just writing. And you'll just be amazed at how that plays out.
Yeah.
So hey Esther, hey Tina, hey Carte Blanche, and hey Keisha, Joy, Vanessa, a couple other people. I can't see it on my screen, but Keisha actually is a retreat graduate. She's very shy, but guess what, Keisha? We were just talking about she's a retreat graduate from this 4-day one that I just had over the weekend, and she came to my 1-day retreat actually. That I had in Brandywine, Maryland as well. And I'm just so proud of you. So shout out to Keisha. I'm really so proud of you. And yay.
Yeah. So we mentioned fear earlier. We talked a little bit about fear as being an impediment to living in the present, living in the moment. And you know, the word fear is a tricky word, right?
Yeah.
Because when you say that word to people, like, their instant reaction might be, well, I'm not afraid. That's not me. It's not fear. But there are so many other things that are synonyms for fear and translations for fear that we don't even realize it sometimes. And like one of them, and I think it affects everyone, especially me, is worry, right? Anxiety is another one that a lot of people deal with. But if you really dig into the root of worry and anxiety, every psychologist, psychiatrist relationship specialist who's really studied these things deeply will tell you that all of those things are directly connected to fear.
Yeah.
And so maybe you don't feel like I'm afraid, like someone's afraid of the dark, but you know, if you're worrying, if you're finding yourself in a constant state of worry about the state of your life, about your family's safety, about what's going to happen tomorrow. One of our viewers texted in earlier that money is a huge impediment, and the fact that money is tied to survival. And I think we all deal with that to some extent, especially living in a capitalist society like the United States. Like, money is something that's constantly, you know, a trigger for a lot of things. But we really have to acknowledge that our worries and our anxieties are connected to fear, and that this fear is an impediment that we have to tackle if we're going to do better at being present in the moment.
Absolutely. And I think that fear doesn't always need to be something that is scary, that makes you afraid of something scary. It could be fear of success. You know, what's going to happen when I reach that next plateau? This is what I aimed for. This is what I actioned out, and now I'm there. Now what? It's the worry. It's this emotion that can handcuff you if you're not allowing yourself to be in that moment, if you're not allowing yourself to be present. What I tell people all the time is, you're standing right here. So be in the right here. You're right here. It already happened, which is why you're right here. So now let's figure out what we're going to do inside of this moment. What should we be talking about in order to make sure you're calm? Like, hey, let's do this breathing exercise first.
Yeah. We got to go to break.
Okay.
Goodness, these segments are flying by.
I know.
But we'll be right back with Now We're Talking. Stick with us, and we'll go a little bit deeper into how to live in the moment, how to be more present.
For shiny things, I can't allow this blasphemy. It's blasphemy. Why would you treat yourself like that? We didn't come this far just to fall right back. Where I'm from, don't lose yourself, stay on track. Baby, you're a god. You're a god. Baby, you're a god. Believe that. Full of the things that we've overcome. Full of unspoken battles we've won. You're so much better than that. Sometimes the truth ain't always catchy as rap.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique, but you're not doing anything in that nature, and I can't take you seriously.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey, and welcome back to Now We Are Talking. Happy Thursday. We are back.
Thursday.
Yes. So we have Mervin A. Bourne, and I am here, Lolita E. Walker. And we are so excited to talk to you today, though. We have been talking about what does it mean to truly live in your present, live in your moment. And we kind of define that ourselves, and we'd love to hear from you guys, because what we're talking about is that people define living in your moment so many different ways. So we've defined it as just being present, just putting not only your body there, but being mentally there in order to enjoy whatever's happening? Is it that you're journaling? Is it that you're spending time with your children? Is it that you're talking to your spouse? Is it that you're doing work? What is it that you're doing and just being wholly there? Then we said there are distractions, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that come into play that doesn't allow you to be all the way there?
So we talked a touch earlier about like always thinking about the future or thinking about the past when you're in the present. And so you're literally like robbing yourself of the enjoyment of the present. And a funny example that comes to mind, and I've joked with my own friends about this, is the whole concept of what's your Friday attitude. So is your Friday attitude, thank God it's Friday? Is your Friday attitude, Friday's my favorite day of the week? Or is your Friday attitude, gosh, before you know it, it's going to be Monday and I'm going to be back to work again? So it's all about perspective, right? Yeah. Because Fridays are Fridays for everybody. It's Friday all over the world. But yet and still, your perspective determines who you are on Friday and what Friday means to you. On Friday, some people are literally worrying about Sunday night. It's going to be time to go to work on Monday again.
Yeah.
And so you've literally robbed yourself of the enjoyment of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so funny that you say that, because I was at the doctor's office the other day. So I don't know if people saw this on Facebook, but I was sitting there and you go to get comfortable. You cross your right foot behind your left foot. You pull up close. Do you know what happened? Did you see it?
No.
Oh, so I do that and I don't have on any shoes. And all of a sudden I'm like, is that my toenail? My whole pinky toe came off. My whole pinky toe nail came off. Right? And I said to myself, is this real? Is it that brittle? Like, am I not, what happens? Is this regular? So I'm sitting there and I look down and it's not bleeding. It's just off, but it's hanging by this thread. Like, it's hanging by a thread. And so what did I do? I looked at it and I'm like, So I go upstairs, I wrap it up with a bandage, and I go back downstairs and I'm just typing. And then I'm like, I probably should be doing something about this. So my mom calls. I said, hey girl, guess what? My toenail has come off. And she just starts laughing. She's like, what, the whole thing? I said, yes, the entire thing. So my toenails were painted blue. The whole blue toenail, it's hanging on by a thread. So it wasn't really all gone, but you could peel it back. So she says, well, is it bleeding? No, it's not bleeding. So she said, hold on while I put you on speaker, because your grandmother's here who's 88. And her caregiver's there. She's like, hold on, let's figure out what we're supposed to do with this. But the reason I tell you that, so the point is, I went to the doctor because my mother spooked me out, and I'm at the doctor's office. That's why I'm telling you this long, hilarious story, is that I'm at the doctor's office and he says, like, what's the big deal? Toenails come off all the time. And I said something and he said, that is such a positive attitude to have. And I said, well, I can't put the toenail back on. I'm right here, right now with you. This is what you're telling me. You're degreed. I say, all right, like, let's roll with it. But just, like, don't freak out. So did your mom
having you thinking that your foot might be about to
Well, she said, first of all, you need to put peroxide on it, then some Neosporin, and then go. I wasn't unwrapping it again. So that just takes me too far back. So, no, but I did go to the doctor. Anyway, the doctor said, so we sat there and we're talking about how your mindset is. If you come in with a positive mindset and this is what am I going to do? Totally. Why am I going to be in here yelling at you? Why?
Yeah.
Is it helping me to move forward?
You're right. It's so true. Like, perspective is everything, and it can be shifted, and that shift makes such a difference.
Yeah, shift it.
What are some other ones we have? How about unforgiveness and grudge holding? So many of us
hold on.
That's the issue. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of us that are, even if we're not doing it at the moment, there are different points in our lives where we've been sitting in some unforgiveness or holding on to a grudge and thinking, about some person or some people in our lives that don't, quote unquote, deserve our forgiveness. Right? As if the forgiveness is some kind of like weapon or gift that you can withhold from someone. And just think about it, like how difficult is it to be fully present and in the moment if you're holding on to that negativity and that negative energy?
Especially if the person's in your space, like if you guys are in the same space. I get it. We had a whole show on forgiveness. We've had probably 2 shows on just forgiveness and really it being about you,
totally.
not the other person. Forgiveness is really about you. It's forgiving you. It is allowing yourself to let go. It doesn't mean you forget, but it means that you have decided that you're not holding on to things that are not progressing you. You have decided not to leave a space inside of your being that is dedicated to this person or persons. You've decided not to allow them to continue to rob you, because the reality is you have the power to forgive. You can do it right now.
And sometimes it's just about your ego.
Absolutely.
And setting your ego aside enough to acknowledge that, I need to move on.
Yeah, and I think it was, I remember Tara Rideout was on, Cheney was on the show, and she was talking about her book and about forgiveness in general, and it really being about you. It being about you. The act of forgiving is right now, I forgive you, and I mean it. I forgive me.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Can we start there when we come back? Because I think that's super intriguing. The whole concept of forgiveness starting with you and not this outside person or people
I have a whole
that
chapter on it
need
in my
to
book.
be forgiven. And it definitely is an impediment to living in the present and living in the moment the best way that we possibly can.
Yeah.
So when we come back, we're going to get more into that. Please stick with us. Now we're talking. We'll be right back.
You're like an internal bleeder. Can't see your pain, but it can silently kill ya. So deeply wounded, but don't say a thing. Too afraid of what the people may say or think. So you just sit there and you suffer in silence. Your pride won't let you just uncover your secret. Don't wanna look weak in your image, it ain't worth losing. So you just act as if it's nothing happening. God sees you, and God hears you. Yes, God loves you. You're like
there's a rumor going around that Tyler Perry and Oprah are beefing. Well, let me tell you about this. Tyler, okay, told Oprah, bitch, if you don't have my money, we're going to have a problem. Ooh. Oprah said, what is the problem? Ooh. You said if I don't have your money, there was going to be a problem. So Oprah is standing her ground like, bitch, I'm in charge. Yeah, you may have a $250 million studio over there that you film all your shows and movies and stuff on, but I have the empire. That's what Oprah said.
Oh, these are her exact words. Allegedly.
I made this up. But
allegedly.
I made it all up.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to Re-Exposed Radio's Now We're Talking radio show. I am your co-host, Mervin A. Bourne Jr.
And I'm Lolita E. Walker. Hello, hello. We are back today.
Yes, and tonight we've been talking living in the present, living in the moment, how can you do it? How can you do it better? What are the impediments that are stopping all of us from doing it? Or if it's not stopping us completely, what are the impediments that are making it more difficult for us to live in the present moment every day?
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of them. I think when we left, we were talking about the lack of forgiving, holding on. Like,
Right.
is that something that keeps us from living in our right now? And I think some of the things I said is, you know, are you ready in this one life you have? Some of us believe there's one life. I happen to believe that we're on this earth for one life. And for this time that you are on this earth in your present state, you know, I guess the question is, are you willing to give someone that much power to take a piece of you so that you are not your whole self? Are you willing to really do that? Because there's so much life to live. There's so many things to see. There's so many possibilities that are endless for you. And are you willing to allow someone to rob you of that? Are you willing to give them that power? They can rob you if you allow them to take a space that's inside of you. And we talked about forgiveness. It's difficult to do sometimes, but truly the power of forgiveness is in you right now. You can choose to forgive. Now, deciding on how you are going to mend that relationship, if that's something you want to do, probably is the tougher part.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
So when we talked about forgiveness, we've had, I think, 2 shows on forgiveness, but I said I'll read. In my book, it's called The Intersection of You and Change, and it takes you through 17 stops of self-discovery. Well, stop 6 is Forgiveness Freeway. So it starts you at Journey Junction, goes all the way to Gratitude Gateway, and stop 6 happens to be Forgiveness Freeway. Every chapter is a stop, but it starts off with the acronym of, in this case, forgiveness, and it's a poem that kind of talks you through what Forgiveness Freeway, this stop, is all about and what forgiveness is. Then it gives you some work to do in order to forgive, right? So I'll just read you this, and maybe we can find some things that pop out, right?
Yeah.
All right. Forgiveness Freeway sometimes journeys you to lands which are unknown, opening your eyes to self-mercy with a focus on what you've previously been shown. Remembering you have control over yourself, which is where forgiveness must start, giving freely of your mind, your spirit, and your heart. It's time to acknowledge where you are and find lessons in what didn't work so well. Venture upon a new journey to make memories you'll one day tell. Empower others to join you by inviting them to Forgiveness Freeway as well. Now it's time to let go of what you may or may not have done. Exercise the strength to acknowledge that your journey has just begun. Soon your inner peace will absolve you of any guilt you may still feel. Start with you by commencing a process that allows you to simply heal. Welcome to Forgiveness Freeway. And I think part of the power in that is that it talks through so many aspects of forgiveness, but reality is that forgiveness starts with you.
Yeah.
But it will handcuff you. It'll keep you living in the past, living in what could I have done? What didn't I do? What should I have done? Why does that person feel this way? And all of this is taking your mental space from leaping into your greatness. Like, who has time?
Yeah. And not only that, like literally making you sick.
Yeah.
I mean, holding on to that negative energy
Yeah.
will literally just drain you and can physically make you ill. So, you know, let go of it, you know, because while we're talking about living in the present, living in the moment, and just creating the best quality of life that we can for each other, for ourselves, rather, you know, identifying the things that we're doing, it's got to be something that's really killing all
that type of thing, just holding on to it really just takes some of your energy away. And I love that you talked about energy because I don't know if Lauren is still on the line, but I met Lauren when I was I don't think she's still on, but when I was, in Ohio for the TEDx talk, someone told me that she was an amazing masseuse I really just felt like I needed to unwind and get, my chill. And I went to her, and she also deals with Reiki energy. Although I've never had a Reiki energy session, I think I had one before, because I also met a gentleman there who also works on healing through Reiki energy through the Skype. Oh, let's go to break.
Situation straightened out. We'll be back in 1 minute.
First they love you, then desert you. Leave with a plate full with no spoon. Ain't no space, I can't escape negativity. I got used to the taste. I've been bad, burned, then fucked over. But remain strong through the Passover. Kicking haters out of the way like masked over. Roll up, sip something, let it pass over. Who would I be? It ain't the man to me to let the next man take advantage of me. When that storm come, don't pan I see. Get with it, not without it, then you'll see. I peep the haters, they know I'm greater. That's why they buzzing for the elevator. But I can't save you, the weed too loud on the pedal. Stupid, don't burn favors. Always got your hand out demanding favors. When I just looked out, now you need more paper. I can't breathe, give me 3 feet. I never let y'all be the death of me. When my patients run there, yeah, nigga OT, cause they wanna see me down like I'm an NCT. 6 words, get the fuck away from me. Say I help you out if you can help yourself. I keep it G till I DIE. Now excuse me while I get back to PC. HOP ain't losing sleep while your third eye always on me. I'm steady green just to feed the team. My boo, she know that I'm king when chasing my dream. These niggas it seems I rip them, trash them, then put on new jeans. Man, see the problem is, man, I keep it 100, man. You know what I mean? Like, if I got it, then you got it. You know what I mean? But if I don't got it, then I'ma give it. You feel me? But I definitely got you through the ride, man. Let's get it.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey, we're back. Can you hear us really well? Well, we've done it just for you. So we were talking about healing and energy, and I was saying that I met this amazing woman when I was doing my TEDx talk in Ohio, and her name was Lauren, and she just did this magical, she deals in energy and just moving things around so that you become whole. She was awesome. And then Manav Khanna is also a TEDx speaker with me. Our TEDx talks really should be coming out probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm so excited about it, so I'm going to shoot it out to you guys. But Manav really talks about these tools for coaching and healing and integrating just different traditions from India and some other science and traditions so that you can heal through energy. So we're going to be doing a Reiki session soon, so I can't wait. And he's in Texas, and he said that we can handle this right over Skype. So I am too excited. I got to tell you about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about it, because I've met several Reiki practitioners, several people that have participated in it, that do it weekly, and swear by it. So just the whole idea that it can be done with somebody who's not physically in the room is really interesting.
I know. I just can't wait. And so that should be coming up in the next couple of weeks too. But yeah, healing, meditation, and coaching is what his website says. It's manavkhanna.com. MANAV Khanna KHANNA.com. And yes, he worked. And another thing that really intrigued me was that he works with children to heal through art therapy. We just talked about that tonight. And we're talking about having somebody come in to really talk about art therapy, especially in children, how it's so powerful, because coloring is one thing, but what they're coloring and the colors that they're putting into it really makes a difference. And using that as a form of talking when your talking form is failing.
And self-expression.
Yes. So exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about it.
I know.
So we were talking about impediments to living in the moment, living in the present, being present at a high level, at a high quality level, not just a surface level where your body is physically there, but your mind is someplace else,
right?
Or in 10 different directions. And we were talking about some of the impediments or the things that stand in the way of us having fuller life experiences in our present moments every single day, right? And so we talked about lack of forgiveness and holding grudges, and how that's a big impediment to living in the present. And another one that we wanted to get into was insecurity. And how is it that insecurity can prevent us from living in the present? So, like, what do we mean by that? So, an example that comes to mind would be, say you are, you're on a date, and just to pick a silly example, you have a pimple on your face, and the entire date, your date might be thinking, gosh, this woman is so beautiful, she's so amazing, she's so intelligent, like her conversation is really captivating, I love spending time with her, I can't wait until the next time we can go out, etc., etc. And you get to the end of the date, you spend hours together, and he leaves that date thinking all of these amazing, wonderful things. And the only thing you've thought about the entire time is, oh my God, I have this pimple on my face. So who had the best date experience? Who had the richest date experience? Even though both people were in the same place, doing the same thing, right?
But they weren't doing the same thing.
Exactly.
That's the magic of it all. They weren't.
Exactly.
And so it's just where you decide to put your attention and your energy, really. Where is it that you are going to gift your energy? And if it's on a pimple all night, then that's a choice that you've made, unfortunately. But you've had somebody right in front of you that was willing to give you their full attention. So you owe it to yourself to gift it back. You owe it to them. I struggle with saying you owe anybody things, but you owe it to them who have taken this time to be with you. Just be all in, right? The pimple's going to be there when you leave.
So now you leave the date, and your friend says, you had the date tonight. Oh my goodness, how did it go? And the young lady with the pimple on her face says, I don't think we really hit it off. Meanwhile, the guy who was all in the moment is telling his friend how amazing you were.
Do you watch The Good Doctor?
No.
No.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Is it good? Do I need to see it?
Yes, but I was catching up. I don't really know what day it comes on, but I was catching up on my recorded shows since I've been in pocket. So I was watching it last night. I don't know what day it comes on, but I recorded. So I was watching it, and the doctor, Sean, he was saying, oh my gosh, my date was such a disaster. So they're kind of replaying the date, and it wasn't a disaster, and she didn't think it was a disaster, but it's exactly what you were saying. And his mind just races, and he's thinking about, all of these things that in his mind did go wrong. So it's kind of interesting that you bring that up.
Not present in the moment.
Well, he wanted to be, but he just doesn't know how to be, how to sit in that moment and, just relax.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, and it's really cool that you said that. Like, a lot of us, I think, want to be more present. We want to be in the moment.
Yeah.
We just don't always have the tools.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right? So, but isn't it a really huge deal to just acknowledge that it's an issue, it's a situation. Yeah. It's something that we should be striving to do.
Yep. Because, when you can stand in that moment and when you can articulate what your gap is, so you can make yourself vulnerable, which we talked about, that's some people's holdups too, is that I don't want to make myself vulnerable in front of these people. What, how am I going to look? All this stuff. But when you are willing to leverage your voice and really say, I'm not good at this, or I need help with this, then guess what? There's power in that. People want to help, they just don't know how to help.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. Has it ever happened to you where you were in a group, there's a conversation
Probably.
going on? It could be a classroom, it could be a more informal setting, and you want to say something, you want to share something that's on your heart, maybe a personal experience, and you have the conversation in your mind back and forth. Should I say something? No, I'm not going to say anything. Should I say something? No, I'm not going to say anything. And then you do say something, and someone afterwards tells you like how what you said helped them, or they're so glad that you spoke up, or they're so glad that you said what you said.
I'm sure.
And like just thinking about how, that insecurity about, is anyone going to want to hear what I have to say? Am I going to sound stupid? Am I going to sound unintelligent? Is anyone going to care? Like that whole conversation that at some point we all have when it comes to thinking about do I say something or do I not say something, right? Like that line is so thin between you saying something that could change someone's life or change the whole mood in the room or just make the experience of everyone in the room richer.
Or you saying something that somebody really wants to say but didn't have the courage to say, just like you did. So I can think of when I was still in corporate America. That's the first thing that comes to mind. And you're in these rooms with 15 people in it for this one meeting to make this one decision, and you want to say something and you just are nervous because you got people that are 3 levels up from you in there, or you have different people sitting at the table. You might be in the back. For whatever reason, you are nervous about saying what's on your mind. And what I used to tell my employees is that, or anybody that's there that is willing to hear or see, is that you deserve to be in this meeting the same as everybody here. So if you have a question based on what someone has just said, or if you have a point that's backed up on data, if you have something to say that is valuable to the discussion that you feel is valuable, then say it. Because there's somebody in the room that has the same question, or somebody that's going to learn from the question that you've asked, because they probably haven't.
Yeah, and that's why people say a lot, there's no such thing as a dumb question.
Yeah.
Or the only stupid question is the one you don't ask, right? But it's that attempt to address people's insecurities,
yeah.
Freezing them up and stopping them from communicating,
yeah.
stopping them from getting involved in the moment.
Yeah. So first ask the question, do you need to be in the meeting? And if the answer is yes, and you add value, then you are worthy, you are enough, you are okay to ask the question inside of the meeting that they've asked you to be inside of. Absolutely. And I think to your point, it is just this fear of, am I going to be heard? Am I going to be looked at, kind of crazy? Is this a dumb question? Yeah. Am I good enough to ask this question? I've only been here less than a year, but I have this question because it doesn't make sense. And these people have been here for 35 years. Absolutely ask the question. You've been there less than a year, but you're invited to this meeting, this decision-making meeting. So be part of the decision. Or don't complain when the decision comes out and it makes no sense. Right? It's coverage. It is leaping. It is like the fear of the unknown, the what ifs, all of these things you put into your brain of what if this happens? What if this happens? What about if this person sees me inside of this type of way? And if we are talking about you at work, then be open to have a conversation with someone that works there as well.
Yeah. So when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. Something that was raised earlier by one of our viewers in terms of things standing in the way of money. So like the one thing you owe money, and how it can be an impediment that gets in the way of us living in the present, living in the moment, and therefore living the fullest, best lives we can live.
Oh, great. Absolutely. And Manav was on when I talked about him. So another shout out. Hello.
Oh,
and when his TED Talk comes up, you have to watch it. It's just so powerful. So
we'll
when
be
we're
right
back
with Now We're Talking.
Always gotta remember, there's people gonna try to project their insecurities onto you. But you can't listen to what them niggas saying. You gotta get out here and do your shit regardless. You gonna do what you love for the rest of your life anyway. So why not turn that shit into something? Be a man of everything you say. This shit bigger than me, man. Like yeah, I'm good and all that, but you know what I mean? I ain't shit without y'all. Feel me? So no matter what you up, you gotta go hard. Don't matter. Can you imagine how I really having nothing is? Stomach growling, you ain't got no food in the fridge. Surviving on a jail diet of water and bread. No father figure, that's cause my father dead. Mom's bringing different niggas in and out the crib. No money, so you seen it's less than all your friends. But it a joke because your mother was a crackhead.
Now listen to BeExposedRadio.com. Check out this fire flashback.
We need to relearn what it is to be these bosses and how we conduct ourselves as business business-minded individuals and just people in general. Really, I let my gut, and if I call it gut or God or whatever, I'm led by that energy. I know where it comes from. I know where it's, taking me, and you have to figure out what is important to you, and don't play this game. It's a game that we've learned to play, this chess game, and life is not a chess game. Life is real, bones, flesh, blood, decisions.
Make sure you check out the Artist Exchange Show every Monday and Friday at 2 p.m. only on BeExposedRadio.com.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. So now we're talking with Mervin A. Bourne Jr. and Lolita E. Walker.
Hello.
We are here every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also view our past shows on Facebook, on the Now We're Talking Radio Show Facebook page, or the Be Exposed Radio Facebook page. You can also view past shows on YouTube.com, on the BeExposedRadio.com YouTube page.
But we love to have you here because now we can interact with you. So we have a couple of watch parties going, and we would love to hear from you on a couple things we've been asking for engagement on. The first is, what are your wins from last week and this week? So we always share a win at the beginning of the show. And sometimes we're like, oh, what was my win? But sit in it until you have a win, because you absolutely had one. And then we're talking about, how do you know when you're living in your right now? What does that really mean? And it was pretty cool because we talked a little bit about what that meant and how it can look differently to different people, even different generations, what it means.
Absolutely.
So I was saying, for me, and I think you were too, is that it means really moving distractions out to be present mentally and physically right there, to be all in, right? Just to give your all, to be intrigued by what's happening right now. Just learn something new, accept it and just say, yep, I'm in for this right here. Even if it's for only 30 minutes, whatever is going on, focus on that right then. It's funny because there's two different mindsets. Yes, multitasking is great. No, multitasking is not. And so when you are present, you're only doing that one thing. You're focusing, right? And you're just allowing yourself to take in not only the energy that's in the space, but to also take in all the learning that's coming your way, and allowing yourself to be open. So we talked about some things that might hold you hostage from being present, right? Some of those were
fear.
Yeah.
Insecurities.
Yeah. Your limiting belief on money. Yeah. So it's funny because at my retreat, my past women's retreat this past weekend, a new facilitator, Tatanisha Meadows, came, and what she was talking about, I really wanted her to come because I said every single retreat, no matter what your vision is, no matter where you want to go, what your dreams are, and how we're going to make those a reality, money always comes up. So I want someone here to talk about these limiting beliefs, because in my mind, there's so many things you can do to move that distraction out of your way. So she was able to do that. And I know someone mentioned that. And so one of the things she talked about is dedicating money to an online account that you don't see, you don't easily access. It takes 3 to 5 days to transfer over if you say that you need it, and by then usually the need is gone. Right. But that could be one strategy. She talked about budgeting. She talked about knowing where your money is going, and we have templates that she was able to share with us, so we could just get really clear on where our money's going and how we can shift things around in order to make conscious choices of what our goals are. Are you saving specifically for a goal? Right. And out of the money that you have.
Save,
So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So one of the things that one of our viewers wrote in when it comes to money, she was talking about how money is often connected to survival. And I think so often we're living in survival mode. Yeah. And that really is an impediment to being fully present in the moment, right? Just this idea or this feeling like you're either under attack, or that if you're not constantly doing or grinding or hustling that something tragic is going to happen. People that are depending on you are not going to be able to, be sustained anymore. You're going to be a failure if you pause for a moment, if you, have too much quiet time where you're not always doing, everything's going to fall apart. And that's such a harmful mentality to have, but it's one that's it's pretty normal in our society, it feels like.
Yeah, I remember. So I'll tell you a story about when I felt like I was at my lowest. And this is very subjective, but for me, it just was a really tough time. I had nights where I was crying. I felt my ego was just at the top when I really just had to let myself settle. So all these breathing exercises that we did, I should have had those then. But
better late than never.
Better late than never. So what it was is that I left corporate America, and it's very different when you don't have a steady paycheck, a good steady paycheck I was living how I wanted to live in the moment. I was doing pretty well. I didn't have to rely on anyone. It was great. My son was taken care of. We didn't have any, real wants. But what I decided to do was say we're leaving from living on our own, which I had done probably for 18 years at that point, 19 years. And I'm going to ask my mother if I can move back in with her at 40. I was 40. And I struggled with that a little bit. But then what I recognize is the same thing I teach is where do you want to go? Like, what's your end state? What do you want to do? Right. And is this helping you to get there? Absolutely. And is it going to be a win? What are the wins I see? And then what I can say, my mom usually is watching. She's not watching tonight. She's traveling. But I would ask her the same thing. So she's not on. But what I would say is that I think the win-win for us comes in. I was there in order to be present through 2 major surgeries in her life that weren't planned. One was a double mastectomy, and one was a double hip surgery. She was there for me with something that wasn't planned when I had surgery on my meniscus and my ACL.
Because you went to live with her, you're saying?
Yeah, because I was right there. And for me to live an hour and a half away, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
My son, for nights, this wasn't planned. For nights that I'm here, an hour and a half away from where I live, in order to do this show, someone has got to be watching my son.
Yeah.
And I'm closer to family. It's just, I believe when you are clear in where you want to go and you set yourself up on a path, and it's choices. That's where I'm getting to, is when you can deliberately make choices. So when it came to money, I had to decide I'm definitely not having the same paycheck as I was before. So what are some wants and some needs? And they look different than when I was on my own. So some of the needs went to wants really quickly.
Yeah.
So choices, I think, especially when it comes to money, it's like, even now, what are you spending your money on? Because your paycheck still isn't the same. But when it does get there, I'm going to be extremely choiceful, because I recognize that I don't need to spend as much as I am doing what I'm doing.
What you're saying is huge, because the ability to make sound, wise decisions is something that can best be had when you have the clarity that comes from living in the present and living in the moment. And if you think about all the decisions that you've made that were based on being terrified of something, or being afraid of something, or running from something, or some anxiety, or some fear, or some insecurity, typically those decisions are not the most prudent decisions. Typically those decisions are decisions that will lead to regret, decisions that might end up being bad financial decisions, decisions that could harm relationships, decisions that could get you put in jail. The list goes on and on. But just in terms of thinking about how critical it is, we talked about how great it is for your physical health, your emotional health, but just even on a more practical level, so many poor decisions are made out of the fact that a lot of us don't go through daily life living in the present, living in the moment, living in the stillness of the right now, as you often say, you often talk about the value of learning to sit in your right now.
Yeah, sit in your moments.
Yeah.
They matter. And I must say that 40 was an epiphany year for me. Did that happen to you at 40? Did anything change in your psyche at 40? No? You were just always this guy?
It didn't. So I've had like monumental changes, but they're never connected to like
an age.
And we might have had this conversation
we did,
about how like these ages at 5s and 0s are symbolic, and our society places this symbolic weight on them, and then we adopt it.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times we do a lot of reassessing and reevaluating at these ages, but we're choosing to do
Absolutely.
that. You know what I mean?
So I could have probably chosen to do it differently, but 40 for me, a lot of things happened, a lot of change happened in my life that happened to come at 40.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was putting value on this number and self-reflecting on. Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah, I do. But I can say that at 40 was life-changing for me. I started feeling stuff in my body I hadn't felt before. It could be just a mind thing, but I also did a lot of self-discovery. I did a lot of affirmation work. I did a lot of
reflecting.
I did a lot of calling on God, just like wondering and questioning and just pouring into me.
It sounds like everything that you just said comes under the category of being present in the moment. And what it also sounds like is that a direct result of you doing that was revelation.
Absolutely.
Right? All of these things that were revealed to you that then impacted the direction of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how huge a gift is that?
It's wonderful. It's like, it's life-changing.
Right.
And when you can sit in your right now and just be grateful. I think that's the word too, is just life tomorrow isn't promised. I can leave the show today and it be my last one. Just life isn't promised. And so while I'm here, while you're here, then let's make the most of it and be present to the people and the things and the energy that's around us. And I think just having that type of mindset for me shifted me, and I think it shifted how I interacted with people. It shifted how I coach people. It shifted what I ask of people. It shifted even the way I speak to people and allow them to, okay, no problem, you got it.
Yeah. I was thinking and preparing for the show about all the different ways that religions address this topic. And, you know, there's some similarities between Eastern religions and Western religions. And one of the things I came across was discussing Zen Buddhism and how this idea of living in the present and being in the moment is viewed. And I wanted to read something that I found that I thought was pretty cool.
Okay.
It says, the emphasis on the present moment is perhaps Zen's most distinctive characteristic. In our Western relationship with time, in which we compulsively pick over the past in order to learn lessons from it and then project into a hypothetical future in which those lessons can be applied, the present moment has been compressed to a tiny sliver on the clock face between a vast past and an infinite future. Zen, more than anything else, is about reclaiming and expanding the present moment. It tries to have you understand, without arguing the point, that there is no purpose in getting anywhere if, when you get there, all you do is think about getting to some other future moment. Life exists in the present, or nowhere at all. And if you cannot grasp that, you are simply living a fantasy.
I love that. Yeah. That sums it up. We can wrap it up, wrap up the show right now.
I mean, and I'm really like convicted by what I just read, because I often think about the past and focus a lot on lessons that I've learned and how I'm going to apply it to the future. And I think all of that is important, but it can't be done to the point where I'm not in the present, because I'm so busy about taking the information from the past and trying to make my future perfect, or trying to predict future events and future outcomes, and just basically trying to create the best possible future scenarios I can based on these events in the past.
Yeah, like we can accept, or choose not to accept the energy that comes into our space, right? I believe that. I think latching on to the past continuously,
Right.
because what I listen to, yes,
like you can't be obsessed with it,
right?
And sometimes we are.
Because then that might feed into a lot of other stuff we talked about, forgiveness. Like, what are you really holding on to? Let's understand what that is so that then you can focus on letting that go. What I was picturing when you were talking about that is you have this line and you're sitting in the middle of present, but it's still, present is like this, and your present continues to get compressed by your past, right? That is getting bigger and bigger and bigger along this timeline. This is what it said in my mind. I'm just thinking of this thing being compressed. And then your future, which you are trying to project, which means you're kind of living in this fantasy. I love that. Pretty good. Zen Buddhism is what Mervin was talking about. Yeah. Absolutely love that.
So, I mean, and it's just even making a parallel to Christianity, like throughout the Bible, it talks about not worrying about tomorrow because today will provide for itself. And there's a really cool passage that's popping into my mind about, they're basically just asking questions, and they're asking questions like, look at the birds of the field, the birds of the air and the beasts of the fields, and doesn't the Lord provide for them every single day? They're not worried about where they're going to get their next meal from, right? And if God is providing for them every single day all over the world, why would he not do that for you? And it's just a reminder of how we spend so much time and energy and effort worrying.
Yeah, for real.
We
do.
And it's such a waste of time.
And our children, just to talk about our children, I just feel like they have so much pressure on them. My son is 7. And the things he thinks about and talks about, I'm like, why is this on your mind? And then you look at some TV shows and you're like, but they're worrying so much, but they're worried about all of this. Then you have social media where, I think uniforms are the best thing for schools. That's me personally. I think when you don't have uniforms, you're worried about, I have to get this shirt. This person said that this.
A lot of the pressure off.
Yes, it takes so much of the pressure off.
And the kids.
Both.
Primarily the kids.
And the things that they think about is unbelievable to me. And did we think about
But
these
you know
things?
what? You're convicting me again, thinking about the kids. As parents, we pass our worrying habits onto the kids. And a lot of times we don't realize how we do that.
That's true.
Because we think unless we're telling them or directing them to worry, then we're not. But even the energy, worry has an energy. Anxiety has an energy. And just even your child being in the room with you when you're going through that is directly influencing our children. So it's impossible for children to grow up in a house where worrying is the norm, worrying is what they see, it's what they feel, and for them not to be impacted by that. So as a parent, I have to be really conscious about how I'm processing the conflicts in my life, the stress in my life, the things that I'm concerned about, and what am I showing them, and what am I displaying to them, and also just beyond the showing and the displaying, what am I feeling? Because even if I'm not speaking,
you're showing it.
I'm showing it. I'm emitting an energy of either worry or stress or anxiety.
That's why it comes back
fear.
to sitting in your moments. You got to take intentional moments to be with your children outside of the worry of every day. Like take a weekend, go to a museum. Like just really be present with them. Really, especially with technology. At the dinner table, I'm like, no technology. My phone, your iPad, no TV. We're just here. Because you got to force it to your point, like they see it.
And what difference do you see? Because I've had that in my house where there's dinner with the television and then dinner where we're like, no television. We're just going to have dinner. We're going to eat. We're going to be face to face with each other. We're going to talk, or maybe not even talk much, but we're going to do it without television or electronics.
That's when you start with, what was your win for today? I mean, you force the conversation until it becomes natural. Or you get that child in the beginning, especially where they just want to get up. They want to hurry up and eat and then get up.
Right. When dinner gets eaten in 5 minutes because they try to get to some
I'm not hungry
electronics.
anymore. Yeah. Oh, okay. Can I press pause? Walker's like, can I press pause on the TV and then turn it back on? No. So I think it's uncomfortable first, but that's when you make it a routine, which becomes a habit, which becomes it's dinner time, turn off everything.
Right.
Because they'll remind you, your phone's supposed to be over there. You just have to, accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability. So I am on Monday going to be on television, channel 8 at 8:30. And I'm going to be talking about the 5 ways to create sacred spaces for yourself, which kind of talks about what we're doing right now, but it's 5 ways to create sacred spaces for yourself. So I'll be sure to send the flyer to this distribution and put it on our site so that people can tune in or DVR to watch. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Can't wait to see it. So while we have some time left in this segment, we wanted to talk to you about some tips for living in the moment.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about the things that prevent us from doing it, that make it harder to do it, the impediments that get in the way. So here's some tips to living in the present, living in the moment. Number 1, remove unneeded possessions. Wow. Minimalism forces you to live in the present. Removing items associated with past memories frees you and allows you to stop living in the past. Once the past no longer has power, you can begin to live in the moment.
I believe that because let's say you break up with someone and you're still holding on to that ring, or you're still holding on to that person's clothes, or you're still holding on, what's the reason that you're holding on? Are you ready to move forward? Let's move forward.
And if you're holding on to a memento from the past or a symbol from the past, are you in your present? Right?
I think you can be there, but your mind is always thinking about something else. So these are things you can consider and think about. I think, what website is that you found that on?
This is becomingminimalist.com.
Oh, okay. So this is about becoming a minimalist. Okay.
Well, that particular tip, yeah.
Okay. What else do they say?
Here's a simple one. Smile.
I believe in
Each day is full of endless possibilities. Start with a smile. You're in control of your attitude every morning. Keep it optimistic and expectant. Be intentional about it.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
It takes more muscles in your face to frown than it does to smile.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So, God, there's a man. I'm going to pick out.
Forgive. We talked about that.
Past hurts. Oh, here's one. Love your job. So this one, I think, hits home for anybody that's working in any place, really, because everyone has things about their job that they wish could be better or could be different. Some people really don't like anything about their job. Some people, their job is their passion, but other people, their job is a way to survive.
There's something that's keeping you there. So what is it? If it's money, then go and appreciate the money that you're going to make on that day. It's something that's driving you to that job. And guess what? You also have a choice to search a new one while you're at the other one. You are passionate about something, start that into a business while you're still working.
But
there's
in the
choices.
meantime, right? So what you just said is it's thinking about the future and changing your present circumstances, which is necessary. I think this point, in addition to that, though, is thinking about the meantime, right? So in the meantime, do you get up every morning hating what you're about to do, go to the place hating what you're doing, leave hating that you did it, and then go to bed dreading that you have to do it the next day? Like, what kind of existence is that, right?
Right.
So why not try to identify the one thing that you can get joy or pleasure or fulfillment out of, even if there's 10 things there that you dislike.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids that about school when, it's negative, which I get. They're human. We all do it. We all fall into the trap. But what's the one thing about school that you like?
Absolutely.
You know, so what's the one thing about, you know, your schedule tomorrow that you can pull a little bit of pleasure out of it, you know? So I think that's really important because, especially for working people, like, we have to do it every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you wake up, it's intention, no matter how you work it, spin it.
And it's perspective. Like, your perspective controls everything, right? What kind of mood you're in, how happy you are.
Your actions, your behaviors, the way you move, the way you talk, the way you communicate, all of it.
Relationships with the people around
Absolutely.
you, you know? Like, if you ever interacted with somebody at work that hates their job, and how different is that interaction between them and people that really
You got to say, oh, I got a meeting to go to.
that really love
I
their
got a
job,
meeting I
right?
need to get to real
Oh
quick.
my goodness.
Yeah, I think another way outside of this website to really be present is to, we talked about waking up a little early, and whether it's journaling, so you could just write something down and get into the moment of I am grateful for, or at night, my wins for today were 1, 2, and 3, or my one win was every night with my son, I do, what was our win for today? If there's a guest in the house, it's like, what was your win for today? They're like, a win? What? Yep, you're going on the board too, because you're right here. It is, what is that? I think another one is to create sacred spaces that's around your house that's for you. Ain't nothing like a closet, right? Nothing like a bathroom. If that's the only place you can go, figure out how to breathe inside of that space and how to become whole with yourself. Stop on the way home. Get yourself a appetizer somewhere, right? Stop at when you're way home, maybe stop where there's water. In Boston, when I lived in Boston, I used to always stop. There was like this nice waterway. Just stop there and look out, right? For lunch, take a walk around the building. There's so many things that you can do in the little bit of time that you do have. And then when it becomes a habit, you'll do it even more. Schedule it in.
And when you get the fulfillment from it, you'll be encouraged.
Absolutely.
To do it even.
Hands down. Let's do it again. Invite a friend.
Yep.
So when we're back, I think we're coming along to almost leaving.
Yes, time to wrap it up soon. But stick with us. We'll be right back in 2 minutes with our wrap up and our recap of everything that we've talked about today. We're talking about mindfulness, living in the moment, living in the present, being fully present, and not letting life pass you by.
Yes, and I agree, Adrian. We're going to hit this as soon as we come back.
Yes.
Hashtag BAM, absolutely.
We'll be right back with Now We're Talking.
Absolutely. She said, folks who hate their jobs.
This unknown to find who we really are. Crash into something new and take a break from our broken heart. Talk with the hip, tell me you lie. I think we should go for another round. Baby, try not to say too much. Let your love come down. If you wanna rule, there's some rules you gotta live by. Live by. Stay true to your cool, make a move, don't wait on nobody else. And if it feels like a melody, sing a song, be my radio. And if you follow me there, I'll follow you back. Let the night unfold. I can tell that she can't get enough, show enough, she couldn't get the feels off from me. Oh no, she couldn't get the feels off from me. Touching hands till we dance in the dark, show enough, she couldn't get the feels off from me. We do whatever we like.
Listen to this flashback of Skyline Radio Show.
So where we at? Where we talk about the effects and what's going on in these schools. And what people don't understand. Just real briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about what people say bullying is or is not. So bullying comes in many forms. It's a teasing, it's the cyberbullying, it's the texting, it's the phone calls, it's the posting of pictures and people's personal information to pretty much cause them harm, to have them feel insecure. It's the sex assaults that people actually put out there. There are physical assaults, and there are mental assaults and emotional assaults. And what I like...
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
back to Now We're Talking. I cannot believe that we're almost done.
No.
Right? We have been talking about what does it mean to live in your moment? And we just live in your right now. Be present in what you're doing. Some strategy, like what's preventing us from doing that. We even talk some strategies in order to get you to live more in the present. And we somehow got on a job.
Yeah,
how
so
do we get on a job?
We were talking about how like tips to living in the moment, being more present, and how one of the things that often is an impediment to that is your job and unfulfillment with your job and being unhappy at your job, and how that's all a matter of perspective, and that even if you're at a job that you are ready to move on from it, or even a job that in general you hate, you can really make a decision, you should make a decision to find at least one positive thing about that job that you can look forward to every single day. Because getting up and going to something that there's zero joy in is miserable.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you should be dreaming about what's next.
Dreaming and doing. Absolutely.
Right, and then setting a plan
to get there.
in motion.
So Adrian wrote and said, folks who hate their jobs need new careers. And I absolutely agree with that. I believe that if you're not happy in what you're doing in your right now, then let's find a way to get you out of that. And it might be a process because you have to work, but then that means at night when you go home, or in the morning if you're at the night shift, then start looking around with what is your passion. Like, let's start figuring that out. So now you can do something that you enjoy. You don't have to be stuck there.
And something that's motivated by, like you said, your passion, as opposed to how much money you can make from it.
Yeah. What's your goals? It's all about clarity, right? It's all about what we talked about earlier, is living in your right now, and then just being clear on where you're going. When you're present, you can really live in your right now if you remove all of those other distractions that are clouding your mind. Right.
And I think one of the undertones of the whole conversation, when you mentioned clarity, and the words clarity and clearness have been coming up throughout our conversation, because I think one of the key takeaways is that you cannot attain clarity in chaos. You can't attain clarity if you're not present.
Yeah.
And that being present in the moment and being present in your daily life, just taking those pauses, taking the time to be deliberate and to be introspective and to be still, as opposed to always doing and grinding and ripping and running and working and, you know, pulling and pushing. You don't reach clarity in those moments.
You got to be deliberate. To be clear, you have to be deliberate. I totally agree. So we have a couple things individually coming up that people can drive clarity, people can get in touch, people are able to be aware. So for me, I do have a couple things coming up. Every Tuesday, I'm doing a growing series, and every Tuesday in October, starting with October 1st, which is next Tuesday, we are starting with being handcuffed by fear. Let's talk about it. You can go to lolitawalker.com, and we are going to have some group sessions where we're just digging in. And I have 4 topics during the course of the week, during the course of the month, from being handcuffed by fear to finding and leveraging your voice, to showing up and showing out, what that means and how you can do it. We're leaving with some tools, some strategies, and then working on your goals, like leaping into your goals, and what does that really look like. So those are the 4 different topics for October. I'm also having a vision board event October 19th. Okay. Morgan State's homecoming is in the middle of this month, so that's major.
Yes, it is.
We're going to be on
October. October's homecoming month. That's what October represents.
It does. We're doing a show from there. We're at least going to be doing live and then posting it when we're there on that Thursday for the business meeting. And then Monday, tune in, Channel 8, 8:15. I will be talking about 5 strategies to create sacred spaces.
She almost forgot she's going to be on television.
I did.
She's so humble.
Oh, I love it. I know. So much going on. You got to take one step at a time.
That's right.
Next week, I'll talk about TED Talk and some other stuff. I love it.
So November 15th to 17th, 2019 in Potomac, Maryland, the first men's wellness retreat for men by men. The theme for this year is better men, better fathers, better futures. And it's going to be a phenomenal event. It's going to be super comprehensive. It's going to be all inclusive. And for details, you should go to mervinbourne.com/retreat. I'm excited about it. It's going to be really, really inspirational and powerful. And that's just like the best way to sum it up. And, I'm just praying for even a fraction of the impact that Lolita's women's retreats have had, because if I can get a fraction of that on people's lives, then it will truly be a success, and I'm positive that it's going to
be. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it because men rarely give themselves a space to be vulnerable that I've seen, and so to create that space is huge. Congratulations.
And to just be still, and like we're talking about tonight, to live in the moment, to be present in the moment, so that you can attain that clarity that is that's where the life-changing thoughts and moments come from, that clarity.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. We're all in.
Yeah. So ideas for the show, comments for the show, questions for the show, you can email us at nowwe'retalkinglive@gmail.com. You can tune into this episode if you joined in the middle and you want to go back to the beginning to see where we started tonight.
And share it.
And share with your friends.
We don't mind
at
all.
Share. The more people that know about the show, the better. You can do so on Facebook, on the Now We're Talking Radio Show Facebook page, or the Be Exposed Radio Facebook page. And you can also go to youtube.com to the Be Exposed Radio YouTube page. And finally, you can go directly to beexposedradio.com.
Absolutely. But we love the comments here on Facebook because we can see them as they're rolling in. So you can choose, but this is great. And a special shout out to the class of 99 at Morgan State University, 20 years.
20 years.
Hashtag ma'am, Adrian calling 2 decades of graduation.
Of killing it.
Killing the game out here in these Baltimore streets. So
in these world streets.
We are everywhere. I'm really excited.
Everywhere.
Our class is the bomb.
Yep,
I think he's going to say time's over. So it's almost 9 o'clock, but we appreciate it. And we'll check you out Thursday, 7 to 9, right here.
Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Right.
We love you. Peace.
White keys only have this bitch jumping.
Okay. If I sit around, hold up. Look. If I sit around, hold up. Yeah. Rebel.